Hey everybody, Antoni here with a review of The Sound of Music, which was shown at the Salzburger Marionette Theater. The conductor for the Astropolis Philharmonic Orchestra was Larry Blank. The production was by Richard Hamburger, quite a funny name by the way. The lights and set design were done by Chris Barreca, and the puppet designs and costumes were done by Anita Yavich. Now, who here loves or even adores Sound of Music infinitely? I certainly do. It had a stable part in my childhood. In fact, it was one of the greatest things that I've had as a child that I viewed. Well, the movie version, of course, because I didn't really watch this live on Broadway. I've only heard a few excerpts on YouTube, but I've watched the film all the same when I was a kid, and I grew to love it more and more as time went on. And before I started watching the Sound of Music movie, I was first watching the trailers when it was playing on my Dunstan Checks-In VHS. And when I bought the VHS of Sound of Music and popped it in the VHS player, I was definitely blown away by the great performances of Julie Andrews and Christopher Plummer. And the location that it was shot in, Salzburg, was just absolutely gorgeous. But more than anything, it's the music that really hits it home for me. From the very catchy and extremely unforgettable Do Re Mi to the very grand and wonderful The Hills Are Alive with the Sound of Music, to the sweet and calming Edelweiss, to the very cute So Long Farewell, and to the very poignant and my personal favorite musical number from the entire musical movie, Climb Every Mountain. Now, every time I listen to this song, I just well up. I just go Niagara Falls on this musical number when it comes to giving this to the right soprano, operatic soprano, with such great notes and a very healthy timbre, then it definitely becomes memorable. And like I said, every time I listen to Climb Every Mountain, whether it's the Mother Abbess singing this or when it's sung in the reprise, I just immediately just go Niagara Falls. I just immediately bawl. I just well up with tears just because of how powerful this song is. And it's definitely a great inspirational song for me because its message is, sure, life may get you down, but just as long as you keep your head up and continue to fight, be courageous, and really persevere, then everything will be possible and everything will be beautiful in the end. And that's the message of the song for me. And every time I listen to this, I feel so compelled and just so inspired that it just makes me full of anticipation of what the day is going to offer me. No matter how hard it's going to be, no matter how bad things are, I just know that every time I listen to this song, I was like so pumped up and just so ready to face the world. And if I were to place a list of the top 10 best tear-jerking musical numbers of all time, this would be at number 1. Hands down, number 1. Number 2 would be Wishing You Were Somehow Here Again. And number 3 would probably be, Bring Him Home from Les Miserables. And in terms of the best musical, if I were to place this at any placement, I would place Sound of Music at number 1, number 2 would be My Fair Lady, and number 3 would be Chicago. So, Sound of Music was definitely a staple of my childhood, and even to this day, it has become and has proved itself that it stood against the tests of time and has really become a classic for me that really needs no introduction, but you just need to see it and to hear it and then just to let it flow through you, so to say. Now, let's get on with the production. Now, since this is a review of a marionette show, I have to say, the production was really colorful and really bright and full of life, and especially when it comes to the effects that it used. In Maria's entrance number, The Sound of Music, it's like the hills elevated and they were like letting Maria fly, and I thought that was just so magical. And how the characters flew around, or how the puppets flew around, depending on the musical number, I thought was just fun to watch. It was just a lot of fun watching these puppeteers do their work. And these puppeteers, namely the likes of Eva Wiener, Ursula Winzer, Philipp Brunner, Pierre Dran, Heide Hölzel, Michaela Obermeier, Wladimir Fedyakov, Emanuel Pavlos, and many others, really gave it their all in terms of making the characters move fluidly and really like going out of the box in what they do, because when they handle puppets, it's like everything's possible. You can make them fly, you can make them fall, you can make them skid, you can make them do this and that. The possibilities are endless, and they really know how to work with the possibilities that they have. It really shows you just how gifted these puppeteers really are, and it's just wow. So overall, the set designs, the costumes, and the way that the puppeteers handled all of these puppets were just so excellently done. It was just wonderful to watch, and I was sitting pretty far, and just seeing them from afar, I thought they were quite human-like. Though, if I would have sat a lot nearer, they probably would have looked something like this. And I know, right? I mean, it's still pretty lifelike though, and still pretty nice to look at. But when I was sitting afar, I was almost thinking, well, they look almost human in a way. And well, what more can I say? The production all around was just fantastic. Now, since this is also a review of what I thought about the singing, well, this was basically synced with a recording that was with Larry Blank on the podium. We have the following soloists: Christiane Noll, sorry, not Zorel. Christiane Noll as Maria was really great in timbre. She was not nasal, she was not cracking, she did not have any vocal pitfalls. She had such an elegant and very homogeneous voice. And even though her acting was a little bit stage-acty for a recording, I have to say she did a very decent job all around. And even though she can't really be compared to Julie Andrews, because let's face it, Julie Andrews is definitely fantastic as Maria, she still makes the role her own, and she was able to give a certain youthfulness to Maria. The captain was sung by and acted by Martin Vidnovich, who was also a Broadway actor and has also worked on a lot of TV shows and movies. And sure, his performance, well, acting-wise, was a little bit stage-acty, unlike that of Christopher Plummer's more stern and stoic Captain Von Trapp. He was able to still make the captain a very commanding person, and his tone was quite operatic. It was a solid baritone voice that was able to do itself very well and carry itself very well above the orchestra. Now, Jonathan Groff, who I'm sure a lot of you fans of Frozen know him as the voice of Kristoff, voices Rolf and Friedrich. Now, Friedrich, his performance, I thought he was a little bit too mature for the part. I thought he sounded too much like a 19 or 18-year-old, or even that of a 21-year-old to really voice something like Friedrich. Now, with Rolf, he sounded perfect for the part. The way that he sang the opening lines of "You are 16 going on 17," I was just so blown away. He had this elegant and very sweet and also jazzy timbre as compared to that of Daniel Truitt's slightly more operatic timbre. He was able to make Rolf a very charismatic and very youthful figure. And he was able to sing very well and in a jazzy kind of manner. But still, it's definitely a great portrayal of a very thankless part, I may add. Now, the rest of the children, Liesl being sung by Jennifer Hope Willis, Louisa being sung by Jen Gamatese, Kurt being sung by Matthew Gumley, Brigitte being sung by Betsy Hogg, Marta being sung by Kelsey Fowler, and Gretel being sung and acted by Kylie Goldstein. They were all solid all around, especially Jennifer Hope Willis as Liesl. She was able to make Liesl sound like a teenage girl. She was sounding very sweet, especially in her "I'm 16 going on 17" musical number, and I thought she sang it very well. She was able to make her performance as Liesl very believable. Now, Max Detweiler, who was voiced by Bill Yeomans, was delightfully hammy. I mean it. He is a lot hammier than the actor who played in the 1964 Sound of Music movie. He was quite the ham, and I mean it in the greatest possible way. Elsa was sung by, or acted by, let me find the name here. Baroness Elsa von Schrader was sung by Krista Moore, who has a very solid voice. And the Mother Abbess was sung by Jean Lehman, who has a very, very powerful timbre. So overall, even though at times the acting can be quite stage acty, it's the singing that has really sold it for me. I forgot to mention one thing about the production of this marionette show. Why have the Mother Abbess as an actor / mime? I mean, I don't really understand that, but I think it's basically because the Mother Abbess is the most mature out of all the characters. She's a lot older than them. She's a lot more experienced than a lot of the characters in this musical. And there were times that she went puppet form, and I thought that was a pretty great effect, but I would have wanted to keep her in puppet all throughout the musical. And another thing I forgot to mention as well is, why have the Lonely Goatherd play at the very end of the musical? I know it's just to lighten the mood of what we got with a very bittersweet yet powerful ending, but other than that, it kind of felt a little bit distracting. If I were the director, I would have placed the Lonely Goatherd somewhere in the first act, just like what the movie did. But overall, this was definitely a great evening for watching a musical at the Salzburger Marionette Theater, and it's definitely my first time watching something from a marionette theater. So, just a recommendation. If you're in Salzburg and you really have a knack for puppets, or if you're a huge puppet fan, and if you are definitely someone who is so into puppetry, or if you want to introduce your children to musicals, then I definitely have to suggest the Salzburger Marionette Theater. It is no wonder why this is one of the world's best places to go for marionette performances, with great puppeteers from different backgrounds, and even to great costumes for the puppets, and some great recordings used to sync well with how the puppets move. Then it's definitely the #1 place to go when it comes to, well, watching a puppet show after all. Yeah, if you're in a mood for like marionettes, and if you're kind of tired of seeing sock puppets or like those little puppets that you place on on your hand, and well, that's that, then there is no better place to go to than the Salzburger Marionette Theater. I highly recommend this theater to everyone, whether you're a puppeteer fan, whether you're an acting fan, whether you're a theater fan, whether you're an opera fan, musical fan, well, any type of fan of the performing arts, or if you're totally into the performing arts, I highly suggest that you visit this theater and give one or two of their shows a shot. Well, that's all for now. Be sure to tune in tomorrow for my review of Mozart's Mass in C minor. Until then, this is Antoni signing off and wishing you all a good night.